This is Mike. I felt the need to do a brief introductory video to the Zeitgeist Media Festival that I did not too long ago. Reason being, I feel that some of the people out there just didn't quite get my message of what I was trying to convey. I had quite a few people come up to me afterwards and say, "Hey, are you okay? Humanity's going to be okay. You know, we're not in this spiral path towards self-destruction. Everything's going to be all right. Just have faith." You know, and what I wanted to convey to the audience there was my point of view of realism coming from a veteran. Okay, the San Diego Zeitgeist Media Festival, the whole purpose of a media festival is really to convey information, to raise awareness and shifting of values and consciousness. We do that through media, through art, through music, through poetry, which really appeals to the human emotion. And I wanted to convey from an area of realism to the human spirit of emotion from a veteran's point of view, a veteran who has seen tremendous poverty overseas, who has experienced war, and is trying everything that he can do to become a problem solver. And so really putting that realism out there and the frustrations that I deal with you know, dealing with my own people here in the United States and raising awareness in that area. And values. I want to talk just a little bit about values and why that's so important. Well, values, you know, if here in the United States we still have a predominant value of competition for your most basic necessities such as food, clothing, water, shelter, education, healthcare. Those basic things, which if you look at our technological capabilities, pretty much tells us that, you know, just by being born a human being, that should be a privilege for everyone to have access to that. So in conveying what it's like being a veteran, trying to change people on the positive path of turning this whole thing around, I feel that people overseas really get it. You know, poverty is a real thing overseas, but once I got back here to the States, it's almost like the majority of the Americans here have these blinders over their eyes. And, you know, even though the math and the stats, they tell us that, hey, we are in a spiral path towards self-destruction. And you know what? It's not stopping, it's continuing. Industry's not stopping, it's continuing, you know, based on, you know, operating off of cyclical consumption, creating tremendous, endless waste, exploitation of resources. It's still going on. And I feel strongly inside that humanity is pretty much freaking doomed. We're not going to make it if we continue this path. And that was my message in this presentation that I gave. But, you know, there's a side of me deep down that says, hey, we do have the technological capability, we have the scientific understanding and the reasoning capability to turn this around. But are we going to do it? That's the question. That's the question for this generation and the next generation. Are we going to do it? And so please, by all means, everyone out there, prove me wrong. That's the message. I want to be proved wrong. And basically what I was trying to get out there is for everyone, including myself, all of us need to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what can we do? And taking Gandhi's advice and being the change that we want to see in the world. I want to be real with you guys for a second about some of my personal experiences in my life. As Gino mentioned, I'm an Iraq War veteran, and that had a pretty traumatic effect on me. I spent over 9 years in the Marine Corps, and I've traveled many other countries, and virtually almost all of the countries that I've seen, particularly developing areas, was just totally consumed in poverty. And since I guess about 8 months ago, I became really good friends with Dylan Radigan, who actually gave a presentation here at our last Zeitgeist Town Hall meeting. And Dylan Radigan asked me a question yesterday, and he asked me, you know, it was kind of a real moment we had with each other. And he goes, "Mike, do you think that humanity's going to make it? Do you think that we can really do this, make this happen?" And without hesitating, I turned with him And I said, no, I don't. I don't feel that we're going to make it. And, you know, it was a real moment for me. I was trying to be true in how I feel about the direction of what we're going. And, you know, I posed a challenge here to everyone tonight and everyone out there who hears this to prove me wrong. But I feel that we're not going to make it. And to kind of put that into perspective for you, I mentioned this last time when I talked, but if you take, you know, I mean, everybody understands that scientists estimate that the Earth is right around 4.6 billion years of age, right? Now, if you take that 4.6 billion years and convert that into 46 years, and what that's saying is that humanity has only been here for 4 hours. 4 hours, that's not even a quarter of a day of that 46 years. 2 minutes ago is when the Industrial Revolution occurred. And in that 2-minute time period, we've managed to wipe out over half of the world's rainforest. And that's very alarming. In the midst of this, we see this happening. All of us can see this happening. We understand it, we acknowledge it, but yet we still uphold an outdated, scarcity-oriented economic system. We have created a system that acts like a cancer on our society today. A cancer. We have a cancerous relationship with the Earth. So I don't feel like we're going to make it. We've tainted our rivers, our oceans, you know, we have a trash ball the size of Texas out there floating around the Pacific Ocean. We have a topsoil loss rate of over 1% now. We've tainted the air that we breathe. If you've ever lived in LA, you understand that. Mexico City is another place. Cairo, Egypt. I used to live in Cairo, by the way. I was a Marine security guard over there. And I remember one particular time I went running for a PT exercise event, which we did quite often, and it began raining on me. And I had mud droplets all over me. Poverty here in the world now, I mean, half the world lives in a state of poverty. That's something that I have a real experience with, that I saw almost every day when I was deployed overseas. And, you know, the UN says that 18,000 children die today. That over tens of thousands of children die every single day. And that really hits home for me. And why am I so passionate about this? Because to me it's real. It's real. This is stuff that, you know, as I experienced the worst that humanity had to offer each other through war, you know, that really hit home for me. And, you know, sometimes I think, you know, if there was any extraterrestrial beings out there, how would they look on our society because of that? I think the one thing that really is a travesty with humanity is that we don't take care of each other. And that's the one thing where I think any elevated being, any civilized being, that's the prime thing that we should be doing right there, is at least taking care of our own. With a show of hands out there, how many of you guys have heard of the theoretical physicist Michio Kaku? Okay, we got a few of us out there. Well, Michio Kaku states that when we look for extraterrestrial life, we're looking for 3 different types of societies. And he calls it level 1, level 2, and level 3 species. And right now, he says that the reason why we haven't seen any extraterrestrial life out there is because the transition between level 0, which is where we're at right now, to level 1 is the most dangerous transition. And basically, to sum this up, level 1 species represents a culture that is able to harness their own planetary power at a sustainable level. So basically transcending the use of outdated fossil fuels, coal, that kind of thing. A level 2 species represents a interstellar species, the capability of harnessing power from their stars. And level 3 is intergalactic, the capability of harnessing power from entire galaxies. So we're level 0. We're right there on the cusp of moving to level 1. Can we do it? Can we make that transition? That's the big question now. And I think in order to do this, you know, if we implement that which has been proven throughout history, has proven itself time and time over and over again, our science and technology, particularly methods of the scientific method, if we use a scientific approach a systems-based theory approach, then I feel that we might have a chance. And this systems approach basically goes like this. You know, we recognize, hey, we have an entire planet full of resources. Okay, we got 7 billion, actually 7.1 billion now, people that we have to provide for. How are we going to go about doing that? Well, if we take into account all human needs, you know, maybe we can start designing our city systems in an intelligent manner. By asking that question, you know, I think that we can realize that, hey, you know, if we find out what resources are where, understand what we have to provide for, then it makes sense that, all right, we have geothermal energy harvesting capabilities over here. We strategically orient our manufacturing and, you know, structures for that. If we have wind power, wave power, tidal power, or say precious metals that we can extract over here, then let's incorporate that in a sustainable method. And then we have to connect that to the social unit of humanity, which is extremely important, and that's why we have the model city here today. The social unit of humanity is where everything's going down. That's where we get all our resources, we're using everything. Currently we're in an outdated economic system. It's based on scarcity, competition. Money does not manage resources at all. And we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that fact that the whole monetary structure really exploits resources and wastes a lot of resources. So in creating this city system, you know, we advocate what's called a resource economy and applying science and technology for intelligent management of the system. Now, I'm going to grab a sector of the city and show you how, once we orient to the city system, in transitioning over to a resource economy, what we want to do is make things available for people. How do we go about doing that? Well, it's understood that, you know, every human being needs basic needs. We all have to have access to health care. We have to have access to shelter, clean food, clean air, clean water. We need to have access to clean, efficient transportation, clean, efficient energy, healthy social interactions. So all of these things need to be designed in the city system. Now, to make this available to people, basically what we did here is we standardized basic structural elements. And this is a standard design, a transition design for our city system, because we want to make as many of them in the quickest amount of time possible so that everyone will have access to everything that they need. And also in doing that, that will also influence our value systems to where the population expansion problem will begin to equalize, because then we will have more of an understanding with the interaction of the natural world and each other. Because the highest priority of this society is, in fact, education. So this city system, okay? The particular city is designed off of the carrying capacity of El Cajon. That's where I live. It's about 20 minutes east of here. El Cajon has it holds 100,000 people, and that's the same carrying capacity of the city. El Cajon also uses 14 square miles to do this. In this system, this represents 7 square miles. And so if you design one sector, copy it 7 times, then you have the city system. So we have here, this building here represents the Hyatt in San Diego. The Hyatt has a 2,000 person occupancy. We have 6 of these here. There's one here, one here, one here, 2 here, and 1 on the Central Dome area. And then 500 person occupancy here, multiply that times 8, that's 100,000 people. So being that if you design this, excuse me, and copy it 7 times, then that represents a standardizing basic structural elements so that we can do this in the quickest time possible. So, in going back to the transition of the technological age of what we're trying to do and how important it is, it's important to understand that the transition through each age, we had to have a shift in the economy to do that. For example, when we moved from the hunter and gatherer age, okay, and went to the agricultural age, we went from trade and barter to monetary system. And it made sense at the time. You know, coins, money, it represent smaller particles of exchange to diminish the lugging around of heavy objects. Okay, that made sense. Now, right around 1920, that catapulted us right up to the industrial age, but the monetary structure now is thousands of years old. Once we hit 1920, we had machine automation that came out. That changed everything. All of a sudden, we could automate. And then when 1950 hit, that was combined with, actually automation combined with cybernation. And that just really shifted our whole paradigm right there. Now all of a sudden, the two things that give money value being scarcity, which is proven by our laws of supply and demand, and human labor is no longer valid. So the paradigm of the technical age being the capability of sustaining for all of the world's people at a very high standard of living, a paradigm of cooperation, abundance. That's where we're trying to go. And we need an economy that can uphold that paradigm, because the monetary system, it took us to where we needed to go, but it's not going to take us anywhere further. We can use it to help us transition, because that's all we got to distribute resources right now. But we have to do that. And I think that if we shift the paradigm of people, if we do things of what we're doing today with this media festival, that we can begin to make that happen. We can shift people's thoughts, people's paradigms. And that is so extraordinarily needed at this point in history. And, like I said, I don't have the faith and confidence in our society, the integrity of society, to make this happen. And I ask all of you today to please prove me wrong. Thank you very much for your time.